Hi there, it's Simon Stockhausen. Today let's do a little tutorial for Padshop Pro, starting a patch from scratch, and I will show you around some basic functions of this exceptional granulator by Steinberg. Let's use this very simple sample I did for my sound library granular guitars, which also contains some psaltery sounds. So here we have a simple sound, a plucked psaltery, plucked with a plectrum, actually an octave. Let's hear it pure first. Oops, don't skip the beginning. So here it's a simple pluck with a long decay phase. Now this is a init patch from Padshop Pro, which usually loads up with a pure sine wave. You can see here we have the note expression already programmed in the init patch. We can later skip that. Now we will drag the psaltery we just heard into the slot here. This is layer A, we see here. We have 2 layers for each patch. Now, start basics. Here we have the number of grain streams. The more streams, the denser the sound will become. Here is the speed knob. At 0, we hear nothing. We hear a frozen sound. And as we have a very short grain duration here, it's extremely high-pitched. And so let's start with increasing the duration. So now we recognize the psaltery we just heard purely. We could start modulating this right now, but let's keep the fun for later. So we have 1 grain stream, and now we have here 400 milliseconds. We can also enter this numerically if we want to. Now let's get some movement in here. So let's put speed to 33, which is a third. Okay, now we will up the number of grain streams. Let's make it 4. Sounds pretty static and not very nice. So we have to randomize the position of each of those streams slightly to make it sound more organic. So let's put in something like 5%. So you hear the difference. Not at all modulated. Here it becomes modulated, and you see the graphics. Very high randomization, which is good for animated, fluent textures. So let's keep it at a lower level, maybe. Something like this. Now here's another important parameter, the length of each grain. You hear? Let's put it to something like 70, and we can also randomize the length. No, that was Halion. Oh, let's see, can we? Here we are, grain length. And we could now use a modulator like LFO1, which is here. Put it maybe to half a second. Use a triangle. And now modulate grain length. You see it becomes... Let's use instead a random and hold. And if we turn up the shape, the random and hold step modulator becomes a random and hold glide. So the transitions between each step are fluent. You can have this more extreme. The root note here is now on C4. And the grain length follows the pitches played via this parameter, key follow. If we turn it off, the grain length is equally spread. I mean, it's equal wherever I hit the key, which is not so good for high notes because you hear the va looping. That's why we often use this parameter. So the higher the note is, actually like a normal sampling, the faster the single wave loop will be, or grain loop. Let's reduce the duration because we can still hear we have not yet a bit more randomization. Reduce a bit of this. Now the more we randomize the position, the less we hear the single grain loops. Let's turn up the release time here for the overall patch and add some velocity too. Put it to something like 870 maybe. And maybe even soften the attack so we would get more something like a soft pad-like attack and skip the accent of the... Turn up the volume here maybe. Now here we can slightly detune also the pitch of each grain, which adds some very nice detune effects. Let's dial it in. So just a little bit can be very nice. We can also do it by assigning, for instance, the modulation wheel to this parameter, and then have a max. Let's first listen to a maximum we like. That should be enough. Set this as maximum. Now if I turn the mod wheel, you see? We could also automize this by something else. Let's remove this again, disable. And here we have a modulator called noise, which is actually sort of a random generator, which creates very fast random values. If we use the noise via the mod wheel assigned to grain pitch, we will achieve similar results. So let's put the maximum level again to... come on. let's put it like here, okay? You see? So now noise modulates grain pitch via the mod wheel. I can put it up extremely. You see? But that's not what we wanted. So let's put it back to a gentle value. If you hold shift, if you hold shift, you can achieve smaller values than the coarse scaling of this slider. 25 should do. Now what we also could do, we could have the speed being modulated, for instance, by an envelope, so that at the beginning of the node, let's use this envelope here with a long decay to sustain a long release. So here now we use the filter envelope, it's called, to modulate grain speed, something like 20%, so that it will only play the accent and then freeze. That's the plan. You see? Now it's frozen after the initial phase. Here's our detune. And now we could go on by assigning Aftertouch to grain position, so that we could then control the decay phase with Aftertouch. So now I use Aftertouch. Oh, first I have to dial it in, of course. And to compensate for the loss of volume, we could either, we could also assign Aftertouch to gain. Oh, this doesn't work here, of course not. Aftertouch in the matrix. Grain level. So when we use Aftertouch, we also increase the grain volume. Oh. This doesn't do it. It's not enough. Because it's already so soft. Let's compress the whole thing. This is like a compressor, the gain knob. That's better. It brings up all the noise too, the microphone. Although it's a very clean sample, but it's such a boost now. You hear the noise up there. But we will filter this anyway. See how this sounds in the bass? Very low. But nice. So now let's use another LFO. We have another one here for adding some filter modulation. So LFO2. This is actually a slider which lets you, usually those are monophonic LFOs, bipolar. And by using this one, it will become a unipolar LFO. So now it's only modulating into one direction, which I want for only now creating a modulation this direction. So now I go this way, let's say 50% or 60. Filter cutoff. Slow. A bit faster. We can also say that the same LFO also modulates the resonance, so it gets more resonant the more the filter closes. Again, we use unipolar, add this. By using this envelope knob here, the filter follows key. So higher notes will have higher cutoff than lower notes. So let's put the whole thing down a bit. You get the idea. Now we could also say the filtering should only occur also via Aftertouch, so that there's no filtering at the beginning if I don't use Aftertouch. Now if we move our position with Aftertouch, grain position, we also trigger the filtering. You see? And we could also now even add some tube saturation also via Aftertouch. So this is the source. Let's use something like 40%. Turn it down a bit. So you get the idea. Last but not least, we could add some delay. Let's use a ping pong, the long delay time. Here's the offset between left and right. Let's make it feedback like this. High damp pretty much. Here's the mix level. And let's now substitute what we did here with the noise because actually I prefer the detune we had before. So let's put this to 0. Why doesn't this work today? Come on. So here we have the detune. And let's assign this directly to the mod wheel as we had before. Okay, maximum level. If you want to have it less stereo width, you would now turn down the, although it's quite beautiful, but this actually makes it almost mono. You see? So we haven't touched those parameters yet. We will leave that for a future tutorial. And there are lots of other things and tricks to show you. But you get the idea of what a beautiful instrument this could be and is. Okay, bye.